I left 40 guys standing in the rain after a 12-hour shift. Up until fairly recently, I worked as a camp bus driver in a major industrial area. What my duties were, was to pick people up from the camp, where they lived for a certain amount of time. I was 2 weeks in, 1 week out, and take them into the plant and drop them off at a variety of drop-off areas, depending on what their job was, then pick up anyone that was returning to the camp for their rest period. Now, there were certain designated areas for the buses to pick up and drop off, you know, a bus stop, and only buses were supposed to be parked in those areas. The issue was that people would keep parking their work pickup in the bus areas and block us off. We kept asking them to not do that, they kept doing it, and eventually it all boiled over when a higher up in the company started giving us shit over picking people up out of the designated areas. Because people kept blocking the areas with pickups, we explained why we did it and the higher up promised to do something about it, but never did. The second time that higher up gave us shit over picking people up out of our designated areas, my manager told us, the bus drivers, that the next time this happened that we should let him know via radio and then just leave. So that's what I did. Now, we didn't just spring this on our passengers. We made sure that every single one of them knew, that the next time it was blocked off, that the bus would just continue on its way and leave them behind. When I spread the news to my passengers, I heard a lot of laughter and could tell that they didn't believe me. However, the next day, it happened again. There were pickups in our areas once again, and like the good little minion I was, I did as I was directed, got on the radio to my manager, let him know what was happening, and left. I understand that there was a number of interesting phone calls afterwards, but we never had a problem with pickups in our areas afterwards.
Now to the comments. The problem was that you were actively trying to dodge a problem caused by people that didn't give a dang. Once you made it the problem of the person who would have never been affected otherwise, it got dealt with. Good on your manager for taking appropriate actions.
You have to make the problem painful for the person who is in a position to fix it, otherwise, for them, it isn't a problem.
Motivation. The proper alignment of incentives and consequences can accomplish a great deal.
I feel like I should embroider this and put it on the wall.
Do your incentives and consequences align? You can't pick up passengers outside your designated area. Your area is blocked and we won't do a thing. You are still expected to pick all passengers only at the blocked area. What you mean you didn't pick up everyone? IT management, but explained with bus drivers.
Why didn't you alert us there was a problem? Is the next step, and why you always CYA with an email chain?
This is my most important personal rule for work. I am given directions from my boss, heads of other departments, my boss's boss, etc. I take meticulous notes, save emails, and screenshot important things. I literally had to pull out an email from 4 years ago to a guy and say, here's an email where you explained what I needed to do. And he said, oh. I think there was a misunderstanding, what I told you back then was still correct. Duck outta here. Whatever, I didn't get justice, but I didn't get in shit either. Unfortunately, it takes doing something drastic like this to get morons to stop doing stupid things and listen to complaints. Kudos for getting the point across in a way these self-centered idiots understand. The fact that the workers laughed makes this all the more malicious.
Yes, the title made me worried this was one I wouldn't like, but the workers found this all hilarious, so solidarity preserved, in the spirit of all malicious compliance against the miniature tyrants in our lives.
They didn't think it was hilarious. They weren't taking it seriously, and so their asses got left in the rain. 40 blue-collar workers, tired from a 12-hour shift, soaked from the rain, watch their bus drive away without them. Slowly they turn their gaze to the trucks blocking the bus stop. I'm surprised they didn't wreck those trucks.
There's a reason why the bus stop was never blocked again.
I give props to your manager. He did everything right, bumped it upstairs the first time and, when that didn't work, obeyed the letter of the higher-ups' wishes as best he could and watched things play out. There are a great many people who have no real concept that there might be consequences for their actions. This issue pervades many aspects of our society. Was this up at Conoco in Fort Mac?
OP replied. It's not Conoco, but it's in the Fort Mac area. You'll have to pardon me if I don't want to say exactly which site it was.
All good, buddy. They all work the same. Hope you are warm up there. I got out a couple years ago and will not go back, but that 2 and 2 was wicked. This is exactly the work culture of my place of employment, which I would happily name and call out on its toxicity, but for the fact that I'm still working here, it's fine. I'm only running in for a minute, the door is just right there. It's not a big deal, I'm a supervisor, I just gotta run in and use the bathroom. It's fine, I got a job to fix stuff here and this space is open. Industrial areas, and especially OG, have the most entitled, prima donna, princess complex personalities I've ever seen in my ducking life. When others cause a problem, you need to show them how their actions create consequences. You fixed that problem as quickly as you could. Very well done. Passengers, parks in wrong spot after being warned. Bus driver, leaves them behind as promised. Passengers, surprised PK Chookface. Title should read: Trouble making pickups of people because of people's pickups.
How many pickled people can a people's pickup pick up if a people's pickup could pick up pickled people?
One or more trucks parked in a no parking zone, 40 workers wearing steel-toed boots left stranded in the rain. This has the potential to be that was expensive material.
OP replied. At some point I'll write about the time that I had a manager cause about $3 million worth of damage to company vehicles.
Oh dang, I wanna hear this one. Some people insist on learning things the hard way. Having been the manager in this situation in the past, I'm certain this was to help them prove the point by force. People in trucks, man. Worked at a hotel that served blue-collar workers. They all had trucks and they all parked in red zones or in the road. Since most of these guys were staying long-term, they could refuse maid service for a cheaper rate. Well, because these guys parked in the street, the garbage truck couldn't make it into the parking lot where the dumpsters were. They used to try, but then they hit one of the trucks and the company refused to enter if our parking lot wasn't clear. So, the dumpsters started overflowing because we'd miss a week here or there, so people started complaining. We started writing parking warnings that said your license plate has been noted and next time it will be an automatic tow. People came in and complained that our parking spaces were too small for their large six-wheel trucks or that there weren't enough spots, and we said there is plenty of parking on the street outside our hotel or in the vacant lot next door we owned. The complaint that took the cake though was this guy who came in yelling at us not to touch his ducking truck while throwing the ticket in our face. I said, well, next time I won't have to, the tow company will. He stormed off and then back saying he couldn't fit his truck in our tiny spaces. They were pretty large spaces, so I said, would you like me to park your truck for you? Or you can watch your neighbor park his, he has a bigger truck than you, right? Obviously, he was angry about those comments, but I had had enough of his shit and I just kept going until I basically told him to get a Prius because he didn't actually need a truck. By the time I was through, he was so deflated and I felt a little bad, so I went and helped him park and we kind of became friends after that. My boss was pretty crazy, so she laughed when I told her what I said to him later. Also, I learned working there that with blue-collar workers, if they give you shit you have to stand up to it or they just walk all over you. I'm struggling to understand this camp situation.
Usually in remote work area situations, usually mining, a lot of people will be flown into camp towns, stay there for a fortnight, usually working 12-hour shifts, then be flown home and have a week or two off.
Thanks. But also, that sounds ducking miserable.